Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Does this not just put you in a good mood? Happy December to you all. I am so excited about this month and about the holiday season, and to kick things off today I have a really fun video for you guys. I am sharing with you my top 10 most giftable eyeshadow palettes. Today's video I am doing in collaboration with my good friend here on YouTube, Heather Austin. I have collaborated with Heather a couple of times before, and I have to tell you guys something. If you think I love and am obsessed with eyeshadow palettes, Heather's love and obsession I think even trumps my own. She has tried it all. I feel like she is constantly testing out a new eyeshadow palette and doing multiple looks with them. I don't know how she does it, but if you guys love eyeshadow palettes as much or nearly as much as I do, I promise you will love Heather's channel. I'm very excited to hear her recommendations. I will of course link Heather's video and channel down below, so please head over and check her out, subscribe to her channel. She is so sweet, so much fun, and she really knows her eyeshadow palettes. Really quickly before I share with you guys my selections, I want to welcome any new visitors to my channel. If you are visiting for the first time, perhaps from Heather's channel, welcome. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you do, I hope that you'll consider subscribing. And now let's jump into the palettes. Alright guys, here's my bin. Already gave a couple of them away, didn't I? So I figured the best way for me to go through these would be kind of by budget. So we're going to start with the most expensive. For those of you that have a very high gifting budget, I've got you guys covered. I have 3 palettes here that are in the $40 to $65 price range. Let's start with the $65 palette. I wonder how many of you guys will guess this one. It is the Natasha Denona Glam palette. I have raved about this palette ever since I got it several months ago. There are several things that I think make this a great option for gifting. Number one, it's full of neutrals, and not just neutrals, but cooler tone neutrals, which I think are making a comeback right now, and I also think look good on absolutely everyone. That may not be true. I'm sure there's some people out there that don't like cool tones, but I generally feel like these are much more neutral and easy to wear than even a warmer tone palette, because I do know there are quite a few of you that have mentioned you don't like wearing really warm tones on your eyes. Basically what I'm saying, this is a very boring looking palette that is anything but boring. It is super glamorous. You get all of the basics you need inside here to create a variety of different looks in that neutral and cool tone range. The sparkle factor in this palette is so beautiful. I love Natasha Denona's shimmers. There are quite a few different shimmer formulas in here as well. Some are solid, reflective metallic, some are more satin in finish, and some are kind of a sheer but very sparkly glitter topper. There's just a lot of variety in finishes in this palette, which make it very fun and beautiful, very glamorous palette. This is like the perfect special occasion palette. So for like a Christmas or a New Year's Eve party, for a wedding, really beautiful palette. I actually like this palette more than I even thought I would. I mean, I was excited about this when it released, but my very initial thought was, that's pretty, but it looks kind of bland. But trust me, you guys, this is not bland at all, in my opinion. Now, if the person that you're gifting for is really into color, I have another option for you that we'll get to in a minute. Actually, a couple more options, because obviously this palette gives you very little color, but I think generally speaking, it can be easier to give a more neutral palette than a more colorful palette, unless you really know the person that you're gifting for really loves color. But for me, any way you slice it, I feel like this is a really great palette. It's Natasha Denona. It's very luxurious, if that's kind of the factor, the wow factor that you're going for, and it really is just stunning. But my next recommendation comes in at a sticker price of $52, and this is perhaps one of my favorite palettes of the entire year, maybe of my entire collection, and it is the Sydney Grace Enduring Love palette. I so love this palette. This one does give you a lot of neutrals, but you do get a couple of pops of color in here, and as much as I love the Natasha Denona formula, if I had to pick across the board my very favorite formula, this is definitely it right here, both with the mattes and the shimmers. Sydney Grace's formula, I know I've said this in so many videos recently, is top notch. I do not think it can be beat. This palette gives you some really great basic mattes. You do get a couple of more satiny finish shimmers, and then some seriously metallic metallics. These are insane. I have a hard time even showing this on camera, because I mean, look at that reflection when I face it to my lights. My camera just can't take it, which is why I love it so very much. This is just the most beautiful palette. I have never created an eye look with this that I did not just drop my jaw in wonder at. I just can't get enough of it. I think Sydney Grace is fantastic. And if the person you're gifting for is an eyeshadow formula snob, this is the palette I would most recommend. Next higher end palette that I think makes a fantastic gift is by Too Faced, and it is the Too Faced Pumpkin Spice palette. Now, I have used and reviewed this palette on my channel, and you guys might be surprised seeing it in this video because my review wasn't super glowing of this palette, but the more I've used it, the more I've slowly come to love it. And I still, even though this is not my favorite palette personally of the ones I'm recommending today, I still think this is a great gift option for a couple of reasons. Too Faced makes really fun, giftable palettes. Their packaging is really adorable. Their formula formulas are really nice. They smell delicious, which is one of the top reasons that I think their palettes are so fun to gift. I love the smell of their palettes. They just smell so good, which makes them so fun to use. I do really like this palette. I feel like there's a couple of shades in here that I feel the palette lacks, especially when it comes to the lighter shimmery tones. You get a shimmery green and a shimmery pink, but you don't get anything for the lid that's very neutral, which I think would have been a helpful addition to this palette considering how much color you get for your outer corner and your transition area. But I think this palette is a lot of fun, especially if the person that you're gifting for is really into color or likes to experiment with their makeup. I'm specifically thinking of like a teenager. I think any of the Too Faced palettes would be a really fun gift for any teenager out there or young adult. Maybe someone that doesn't have a super large eyeshadow collection. I think these can be really fun palettes to gift. And even though out of the palettes I'm recommending today, this probably isn't one of my very favorites, I still would really enjoy getting this palette or one of the Too Faced tin palettes as a Christmas gift. Alright, let's move on to my next set of palettes in the next budget range, and this is in the $25 to $40 budget range. Starting with this one right here. This is the BH Cosmetics Naughty palette. This is their new holiday palette this year, and it is so much fun. Beautiful formulas inside here, very fun color story, a lot of neutrals, so if the person you're gifting for mostly likes neutrals, there are plenty to go around in here, but you do get some really fun color options in here. You get a variety of formulas from the pressed glitters to really intense metallics to some more satiny shimmers. Their matte formula is also fantastic, really easy to work with. I just really enjoy this palette. It is so much fun. It obviously has the holiday Christmas packaging, which makes this a very easy one to gift. In fact, the box that it comes in, I can't remember if this did come in a box or if it actually might have come just shrink wrapped. Actually, I think it did come in a box and it looked exactly like this. So you could just wrap a gold ribbon around this or put a bow on the front and gift it just like that because the packaging makes it look like it's already wrapped, which who doesn't love that? This palette is $29. You can get it both from Ulta or the BH Cosmetics website. I would keep an eye on the BH Cosmetics website. There is a chance maybe on Cyber Monday when this video is going up or during the Cyber Monday week that this palette might go on a bit of a sale. I don't know that for sure, but honestly, even if it doesn't, I think this is totally worth the $29 price tag. One of my favorite palettes to reach for lately and definitely a good giftable option. The next giftable palette that I wanted to share with you guys is by Huda Beauty, and this is their Khaki Haze palette. This is the palette that I'm wearing on my eyes today. Now, I want to say a couple of things about this palette. I perhaps mentioned them before, but just in case you are new here, there are one or two shades in here that I don't love, particularly one. This shimmery gold right here in the corner is not my favorite formula. So why, may you ask, am I recommending this palette? It is because I do love Huda's formulas. Generally speaking, everything else in here, I think the formulas are really nice. Her mattes are exceptional. As I mentioned, it is the palette that I'm wearing on my eyes. Basically what I did is I just went in with this in my transition, then I have a mixture of these three shades in my crease. I popped this peach all over my lid and a little bit of this gold, which was a little bit tricky to work with on my inner corner. The biggest reason that I recommend this as a great giftable palette is because of the packaging. I am not normally a packaging snob. Generally, I prefer a good quality eyeshadow over good packaging, but when it comes to gifting an eyeshadow palette, packaging is really important to me. I think it can definitely give a wow factor, and I'm going to make a very bold statement here and say that this specific palette is the most beautifully packaged eyeshadow palette in my entire collection. It is stunning. The haze effect on the front, this kind of marbling, I don't know how well you guys can see that on the back, is a complete showstopper. I would love getting this as a Christmas gift. And other than that one shade right there that I don't love, I do love everything else in here, and I don't think this is a terrible shade. It's just not as good as her shimmers typically are for me, but I still think this palette, or really even the other two in this collection, the sand haze or the purple haze, those are beautiful as well, but I'm telling you, you can see the marbling better on the green palette. And I love this kind of green, almost Christmassy color, and I love the inside. The shadows aren't necessarily green. So despite the fact that the package is green, and don't get me wrong, I do love green eyeshadows, but I feel like this color story is pretty neutral and I would consider pretty universally appealing, at least to most people. They are warm, but they're not overly warm. I just think they're really beautiful, and I'm telling you guys, this packaging is just unbeatable. But if perhaps you want to give something high-end that doesn't have a dud shade in it and also has pretty packaging, maybe is a little bit smaller, I had to recommend the Natasha Denona Mini Retro palette. Of all the mini palettes that I have of hers, I do have 3 of them now. This one I think is my favorite still. It is beautiful. I feel like this is very perfect for anyone with a medium to light skin tone. If you have a deep skin tone, I'm not sure that some of these matte shades would show up super well on you. Let me know if you do have deep skin. Let us know down below. I feel like if you do have deeper skin, I have these 2 palettes as well, which I also recommend. the Mini Nude and the Mini Zendo. These ones do give you a little bit more depth, so if you do have more of a medium to deep skin tone, perhaps these would be better options for you. But I just love these mini palettes. They are $25 a piece, which for 5 shades is pretty expensive, but it is Natasha Denona, so if you are gifting to a true makeup lover that would feel fancy getting a Natasha Denona palette, I think these are really fun options to gift. And as I have mentioned before, even though the packaging in these is plastic, it is really high quality. I mean, it feels really fancy, snaps shut very nicely, it feels sturdy and weighty, and I do really love her formulas. So I think these make really good gift options. $25 I feel like is a pretty good budget for most people. And as I've already mentioned a few times, I think when I'm gifting a palette, packaging is a much bigger consideration than it generally is just for myself. All right, the next price range is the $10 to $25 price range. And to kick this grouping off, I went with the Juvia's Place Nubian 2 palette. Now this is one of my very first Juvia's Place palettes that I ever got, and still one of my very favorites. And I think the reason I most recommend this palette is it gives you some really good basics, but at the same time, it's not a boring palette. This is a palette that I think is very universally flattering, whether you have very fair skin, whether you have deep skin, whether you are warm complected or cool complected. This is just such a fun palette. You get a lot of really good staples in here, a lot of neutrals, and a couple of fun pops of color. I love that you get some cooler or neutral tone options in here, and then also some warm kind of bronzy shades. You get this plum, this deep black and purple, 2 beautiful golds that are both very different, a perfect matte brown, which I think is an essential for any really good eyeshadow palette, and then these 2 pops of color are stunning. I don't use them all the time, but when I'm going for a blue or an emerald green, I mean, you better believe that these are the first 2 that I will think of. Love the Juvia's Place formula. This palette, full price is $20. It is on sale right now. I don't know if it will be when this video goes live, but right now it is Saturday when I'm filming this. It is $12.99 at Ulta, and I believe it's also half price on the Juvia's Place website. Hopefully that deal will still be going on, or some sort of deal will still be going on, but even if this is full price at $20, I think it's worth it. Love Juvia's Place so much. Their packaging is adorable. I mean, really nice, adorable cardboard packaging, very fun to gift. I can't imagine any makeup lover would not enjoy getting this palette. The next giftable palette in the $10 to $25 price range is this palette right here. This is the Alter Ego Sahara palette. This is meant to be a dupe for the Natasha Denona Biba palette, and this is one of my favorite neutral palettes in my collection. I tried Alter Ego out for the first time this year and absolutely fell in love with them for several reasons. Their formulas are really great, very comparable to the actual Natasha Denona formula, really easy to work with. Their mattes are very pigmented, very easy to blend. Their shimmers are stunning and really easy to use with your finger or with a brush. And this is just such a great neutral color story. You get your cool tones, your kind of warm peach or pink tones, and then just warm brown tones. A basic palette that gives you some good range and a lot of variety considering it is a neutral palette. I also have to mention their packaging. Now, I don't know that you can see on camera. The design is really stunning, but just the feel of these palettes. They feel a lot more expensive than they actually are. This palette I think is $16 full price, but they feel nicer than your average cardboard package. They're a little bit more weighty. The mirror inside is just a little bit more clear and weighty. I mean, when you handle these and feel these, you'll feel that they feel better than your typical cardboard package. They're just really, really well made. They're beautiful both on the outside and the inside, and I just think they're really fun options to gift. For my next palette recommendation in the $10 to $25 price range, I'm going to cheat just a little bit here and recommend a palette from ColourPop. And I'm specifically talking about their 9, 12, or 15 pan palettes. Depending on the palette that you pick, those will put you anywhere from $10 to $25. I do have a couple specific ones to recommend for you guys. So let me just mention a couple for you guys today. Starting with this one right here. Last time I checked, this one was still in stock. This is one of my favorites of theirs. It is the Blush Crush palette. Really beautiful soft pink palette. This is a palette that I especially imagine would be perfectly suited for someone with more light to fair skin. But I just really love this palette. I think it's very feminine, very girly. So if the person you're gifting for is a girly girl, I think this would be a really fun palette to gift. Beautifully packaged, super affordable. I think these ones on sale were on sale for around $8. Again, don't know if that sale is still going on when this video goes up, but if it is, I highly recommend getting this for that price. But even for the full price, which I think is around $12, I think it's worth it. Another one I've recommended many times, one of my favorite ColourPop palettes, is the Going Coconuts palette. This is a great one for the neutral lover in your life. Looks very simple, very basic, but it gives you some really beautiful, easy looks. I actually don't like the plastic packaging quite as much as I like their cardboard packaging, but I think a lot of people would actually appreciate it because it does include a really nice mirror. I believe last time I checked, this palette was out of stock, so you might have to keep an eye on their website to see when this comes back in stock. I believe when you go to their website, if you're looking for a specific palette, you can fill out a notification, so when the palette comes back in stock, they'll email you if you're really looking for one in particular. But if you're looking for a neutral palette that you think would be a really easy one to gift, this would be one of my top recommendations. Two more quick recommendations. I believe this is another one that was still available last time I checked, and it's the Garden Variety palette. This is a fun one if you're really into color. There are a couple shades in here that I was kind of a little bit disappointed with, which I've never had that experience with ColourPop shadows before. Particularly this shade right here. It's just kind of a weird formula. It's like a matte, but it's not like one of their normal mattes with glitter in it. It kind of has like a weird kind of chalkiness to it that I felt was kind of unusual. I also felt that this shade, which is more of a shimmer, also felt a little bit chalky to me. I mean, it works. It's just not as creamy and opaque as most ColourPop formulas are. So those two shades kind of disappointed me a little bit, but everything else in here performed really well. It's still a really fun palette. I love the packaging of this one. And I think for the person that maybe likes to be a little bit more creative with their eye looks, this would be a really fun one to gift. Another one I had to recommend, this one was out of stock the last time I checked. This is a new one. You guys haven't even seen this one yet, and I just got this in the mail 2 days ago. It is the App for Sight palette by Raw Beauty Christie and ColourPop. This is such an adorable palette. I mean, the packaging of this is perhaps the cutest one I have ever seen. I love it. The colors inside. I haven't even played with this one yet, and I'm recommending it, which I should probably mention. I have swatched it. I'm pretty confident this is going to perform very well, but I think it looks so pretty. I cannot wait to really dig into this thing and play with it. Side note, if you guys are interested in seeing me do that on camera, please leave a comment down below. My palette showed up very, very late. It took forever for this thing to get to me, and I know a lot of people have already reviewed it, so let me know if you guys still would like to see me use this on camera, but I think this would be a really fun one to gift. It is just so adorable. I love the packaging of this palette. I think it is so, so cute. Other than those specific ones, I think when it comes to ColourPop palettes, any palette you think looks like a color story the person you're gifting for might enjoy, I don't think that you can go wrong with their palettes because they're nearly always great formulas. Their packaging is always adorable and they're always affordable. So you could really pick any of their palettes in the color story of your choosing, and I think it'd be a great gift option. All right, you guys, my very last option, my last category is in the under $10 price point, and I do have just one recommendation for this one, and it would have to be the e.l.f. bite-sized palettes. Now, these are the palettes that I would recommend if you are in a very, very tight budget. Maybe you're looking for a very small gift for someone in your life, or maybe a stocking stuffer. These are some of the best bang for your bucks out there. There are, I think, 8 of these palettes available, 8 different color stories. So I think a really fun option with these would just be to pick 3 different palettes of your choosing. Maybe if you can find 3 different color stories in store, wrap them up with a little bow and put them in a stocking. I think that's such a cute little gift idea. And even for 3 of these, it's only going to set you back $9. I mean, that is such a great deal. The only thing I would say is my guess is if anyone is a makeup lover, they probably already have these because you can get them about anywhere. People raved about them for a good 6 months here on YouTube. And because they're so affordable and easily accessible, I just feel like a lot of people might already own some of these. But if you know for certain the person that you're gifting for doesn't, or maybe they're someone that is younger, just wanting to get into eyeshadow or try out makeup for the first time, I think these can be really fun to gift. So as far as color recommendations, probably my top 4 recommendations would be, first off, the Cream and Sugar palette. This is the one I would most recommend gifting. If you're giving more than one, make sure this one is in there because it has the most basic neutrals in it. I also really love the Rose Water palette. This is a really pretty soft pinky purple one. I love the Pumpkin Pie palette. This is a beautiful one as well. And I really love the Hot Jalapeno palette. This one is definitely more colorful, not for the neutral lover, but if you don't mind a little bit of color in your life, this is one of the better performing of the bunch in my opinion. These 2 shimmers are just showstoppers. I mean, they are so beautiful together or alone. The mattes in here are really easy to blend, and some of the deeper mattes in some of these palettes can be a little bit tricky to work with. I still think they're worth the $3 that you pay for them, which is why I wanted to recommend them for you guys, because I know some of us can't afford to spend $65 on a gift for a sister or mom, or maybe even a stocking stuffer for a daughter. So it's great to know that there's a fun option out there that's not going to break the bank, and this is the epitome of a good eyeshadow palette that's not going to break the bank. Alright guys, that is it for my 10 top recommendations for giftable eyeshadow palettes. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful for you guys. Hopefully it gave you some ideas if you're looking for makeup to gift to the loved ones in your life. All of these I think would make fantastic gifts no matter what your budget is. And with that, that's all I have for you guys today. I would love to know if you guys have any recommendations for giftable eyeshadow palettes that I didn't mention. Please feel free to leave those down below. Thank you to Heather for inviting me to collab on this video. It was so much fun. Be sure to check out Heather's video. Again, I'll link that down below for you guys. One more reminder, if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I hope that you'll do that before you leave. We have a lot of fun videos coming up in the month of December. But that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you are doing well, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye. I have 3 palettes that are in... Oh. Oh gosh, Mandy. Like if you're like one of the Real Housewives of New Jersey and you actually gift $65 palettes to your 16 or 15-year-old, this would be a good one for them. For the rest of us, this would be a great one for, I'm just kidding. If you want to give a $65 palette to your 15, 16-year-old, I am not here to judge you. Don't mind my bow. I just cut off a piece of fabric that was sitting in my Christmas box behind me and tied it in a knot. It's lopsided and kind of weird looking. Come on, Bo. You're on camera. Cooperate. Don't you know we're live?